Hey everyone, Scott Michaels with Dearly Departed Tours here. This next video is about Jay Sebring, the hairstylist who's the second most famous victim of the Tate-LaBianca murders, which happened 51 years ago, actually as I record this, 51 years ago today. Now, a lot of people over the years have called me an expert on the crimes. I know a lot about the crimes, but I've never considered myself an expert, and I've always sort of shied away from that title. People come to me and ask me questions. If I have the answers, I'll give them to them. If I don't, I don't. But there's a lot of people that know a lot more about this case than I do. I just try to put it together in an interesting way. I don't really care one bit about what inspired the crimes to happen, who the people that did these awful things, who they were, what inspired them. I could care less. I'm more of a victim-oriented person, and that's what I try to portray. So with that in mind, I hope today you'll learn one or two nuggets about Jay Sebring that you may not have known before. And it's an important story in Los Angeles history, I think, in American history. So thanks, and I hope you think I do him justice.
The first time you see your customer, it's good if he's sitting in the chair with his head wet after the shampoo. That way you won't be influenced by the way his hair was styled before.
According to a 50th anniversary article about the murders in Benedict Canyon, the Jay Sebring grew up here in Detroit. Now, he was born in Fairfield, Alabama, and his parents moved here when he was a baby to a home on Ferris Street. Now, Ferris Street is not a very large street, and I can only imagine what it was like back then. But the way it looks today is a little bit different. So this street that I just turned onto is the street that Jay grew up on. And at the end of the street is St. Benedict, which is the school Jay went to. You can see this area is, it was a livelier neighborhood back in the day. A lot more going on back then. Wow. And that's St. Benedict, where Jay went to school. Jay was actually born in Alabama on October 10th, 1933. His mother's name was Margaret Gibb and his father Bernard Cummer. He had one brother and two sisters, and his father worked as an accountant. According to that article, it said that Jay was always drawing and painting. His favorite subjects included cars, pinup women, and Hollywood celebrities. So these are the streets that Jay played on when he was a kid. As you can see, they're a little less active these days. Jay attended Detroit Catholic Central High School, not very far from this neighborhood, and he graduated in 1951. He was a big fan of music. He even worked in downtown Detroit at a music store called Grinnell's. Now, according to the Sebring International website, Jay served in the Navy for 4 years and even fought in the Korean War. And while he was in the Navy, he assisted or he cut hair for soldiers. And he apparently didn't care for the restrictions as far as the styles of cuts you can give the guys in the military. So that gave him the idea to come to Los Angeles. Now, he considered working in the medical field and in the legal field, but he decided on hair. And he went to cosmetology school to learn how to style women's hair. Now, he thought that men deserved the same treatment that women did, taking more time to consider their hair. There were men's clothing shops everywhere, but nothing specifically for men's hair cutting, aside from, the traditional $2 corner barbershop cuts. So Jay went on his own to learn how to style men's hair. He took inspiration from European hairstyling because wet hair was still a big deal back then. Brill cream, the wet head, that was a thing. And Jay took it upon himself to learn otherwise, to cut hair dry using blow dryers and combs and scissors as opposed to clippers, and hairspray for a more natural look. He also adopted the name Jay Sebring, using Jay, initial of his middle name, and Sebring for the famous car race in Florida. A former girlfriend of Jay introduced him to singer Vic Damone, and he cut Vic Damone's hair, and he was so impressed that he recommended Frank Sinatra, and then it really took off for Jay. That was his big break. It gave Jay the courage to open up his own salon and charge a lot of money for haircuts because he realized that celebrities were really responding to it. In 1959, he opened up his salon at 725 North Fairfax. Steve McQueen, Cliff Robertson, Paul Newman, Kirk Douglas, Dennis Hopper, Robert Wagner, Brando, Jim Morrison, they all became clients of Jay Sebring. In 1960, he married 17-year-old Cammie Marple, who was an actress. She was in a film called The No-Mobile and a lot of other things. And they were together for about 3 years. So the middle door would have been the stairs to Jay's private office. As I understand it, that's the door to the men's salon, and the door on the left is the women's salon. And that is, I can confirm, where they shot Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in that side. Because I was there. So this would have been Jay's staircase. So this is where the wall said Sebring, right about there, and those 6 windows. So, and in the photographs I took when they were shooting, Jay's Porsche was parked here. There's the newsstand, had old magazines in it. All those old cars were parked in the parking lot over there. The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was parked over there. None of this stuff actually showed up in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but eventually will. So Tarantino rented out Jay's old salon, which was a gay bathhouse at one point in time. So Jay's salon was on the right, and now, according to one of the pictures, I always thought that these 6 windows were part of Jay's salon, but now I think this was a parking garage, or a thoroughfare for the parking in the back. Somebody I know who said they worked for Jay told me that this was a driveway through here, which you can kind of see. This is the back of the salon where valet parking would pick up their guests' cars, and they could be assured discretion walking into Jay's salon. Jay was also very well known for men's hair pieces, and he had a private room set aside for men getting their hair pieces done. His salon was described as a spectacle. He adopted the use of the Egyptian Ankh symbol, which is the Egyptian symbol of life. And there were stained glass windows. There was everything was gold hardware, antiques on the shelves, coffee percolating on the stove, a red telephone just for patrons by each chair, constant hi-fi music, and a chessboard. The only item common to most barbershops are the barber chairs and the stacks of movie magazines where clients could read about themselves. And Jay's stylists were under strict instructions never to indulge in gossip. Jay bought a house just north of Beverly Hills on Easton Drive, just off Benedict Canyon. And right about that time, he and Cammie split up. And in 1964, Jay started dating Sharon Tate and fell in love. Now we're actually above the house on Easton Drive, and Jay would park his Porsche up here and walk down this wonderful staircase to a view of above the pool and of this wonderful house that was built in 1930. Now, when Jay was dating Sharon, there's a really well-known photograph you're going to see in just a moment of Sharon standing on this staircase. As I mentioned before, Paul Byrne worked as an executive for MGM, and he and Jean Harlow dated for a while. They got married actually in July 2nd of 1932. And on September 5th of 1932, Paul Byrne died of a gunshot wound to the head in this house. There's speculation about it may not have been suicide. Who knows, actually. But we do know for a fact that this is the house that Paul Byrne died in. And Jay Sebring was actually attracted by that story. He thought it was kind of cool. And he made the odd remark. He said that when I go, the whole world's going to know about it. Now, there is a paranormal story attached to this house. I found the article. It was by a guy named Dick Kleiner, written in 1966. And it reads, a boyfriend of the glamorous young star Sharon Tate owns a house in Benedict Canyon, which was once owned by Jean Harlow, and she was married to Paul Byrne. One night when Sharon's boyfriend, Jay, was out of town, she called him and asked if she could stay in the house overnight. She said, I had funny feelings every time I was there, and I wanted to see what would happen. That night, as she sat in the bedroom, she saw a, quote, creepy little man. And there were other visions. She ran downstairs and she said, I saw a vision of someone tied to the staircase. It might have been me, it might have been Jay. Whoever it was a cut open at the throat. She wanted a drink for nerve steadying purposes, and she didn't know where the bar was. Something told her to open a bookcase, and inside that bookcase was a hidden bar. She poured a shot. There was some wallpaper below the hidden bar. For some reason, she picked at it and tore it away. It covered a lovely copper base to a wine cellar. Now, there are recently discovered 8mm movies of Jay and Sharon and a few friends here by the pool of this house. There's Sharon Tate standing in that doorway that you can see just to the right of those lawn chairs. And in just a moment, you're going to see Sharon and Jay standing by another staircase. So here they are standing at this staircase. It looks almost exactly the same. This house was used in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino did shoot at this house. I introduced Tarantino to the owners of this house, and they spent 2 weeks getting it prepped for the shoot. It ended up not being used in the released film, but it will be. There's Emil Hirsch with the character Mike Moe, I think is his name, that played Bruce Lee. That's the only part of this house that actually ended up showing in the film. And here is Jay and Sharon together. Sharon and Jay were together for about a year and a half, and she went to Europe to make a movie called The Fearless Vampire Killers with Roman Polanski, and Roman pursued her quite aggressively, and she fell for him and dumped Jay. Now, Jay was apparently devastated by this, and when Roman and Sharon got married, well, it devastated him even further. Now, he still remained friends with Sharon Tate, and he asked her to introduce him to Roman, and the three of them actually became very close friends. Jay Sebring was not the inspiration for the Warren Beatty character in Shampoo, though Jay probably went on a bit of a tear with the ladies after they broke up. I don't think he was ever, Warren Beatty slut style. But the character that Warren Beatty played in Shampoo was based on a combination of people, possibly Jay, a man by the name of Jack Sahakian, a film producer by the name of John Peters, who was also a stylist. And according to a book called Warren Beatty Seduced America, it was said that he was based on the Beverly Hills hairdresser Jean Shakov. In August of 1969, Sharon was staying at the house on Cielo Drive with two other people, Abigail Folger and Wojciech Frykowski. Roman was in London making a movie, and Jay and Sharon and the others hung out together. Late in the afternoon of August 8th, that Friday night, Jay left the house on Easton Drive for the last time. He was driving his black 1969 911 T Coupe with the air-cooled rear engine. Thanks, Patrick, for that information. His neighbors last saw Jay traveling down Easton Drive and making this left. One of them commented that they waved at Jay and he did not wave back. And this is the very route that Jay drove to the house on Cielo Drive. So on the left is the legendary El Coyote Mexican restaurant. It's not famous for its food. The food's good, and it's reasonably priced, but it's legendary around LA because it's where Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring and Abigail Folger had their last supper, according to most published sources, on the night, Friday night, August 8th, 1969. As the legend goes, Sebring signed in party of four. They were sat in a section of a waitress named Kathy Palmer. According to the book Helter Skelter, she was the one who waited on them. And according to their autopsy reports, Sharon would have had the enchiladas and Abigail Folger the corn tamales. They left the El Coyote about 9:45 and went back up to their home, and they were dead in about 3 hours. Now, when the detectives were investigating the crimes, they went to the El Coyote because a couple of people claimed they were invited to have dinner with them, but not a single person in the El Coyote could remember seeing them, including Kathy Palmer. So I don't even know how that name came about in the book Helter Skelter, but that's what was published. And Kathy Palmer was shown photographs. In fact, everyone working there that night was shown photographs of the victims, and no one remembered seeing them here that night. So it's up for speculation. It's not a set in stone, but it's LA lore, and I go there all the time for that reason. So, and everyone believes that to be true. The four of them returned to the house on Cielo Drive, and we kind of know what happened in there. Sharon Tate was actually strung up with a rope around her neck, and it was thrown over a beam and then tied around Jay's neck. And Jay objected to this, and after Tex told him to shut up, they shot Jay and then stabbed him 7 times, I believe. And then the rest of it is pretty much well known. But Jay died protecting Sharon Tate, or defending Sharon Tate. The funerals were set up on the same day. Those who attended Sharon Tate's funeral could attend Jay's a little bit later in the day. Guests included Steve McQueen, who delivered a brief eulogy, Henry Fonda, Peter Fonda, Paul Newman, Alex Cord, George Hamilton, James Garner, John Phillips and Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas attended Jay's California funeral. From Forest Lawn, Glendale, Jay's body was shipped back to Detroit, Michigan. I'm at the former location of the Ted C. Sullivan Funeral Home. This is 14230 McNichols in Detroit. And Saturday morning after the murders, Jay Sebring's funeral was held in this building. Jay's body was in state here for Friday, and at 9:30 in the morning it was taken from here to Precious Blood Church. So this is the former Precious Blood Church where Jay Sebring's funeral was held. The funeral mass was held here on a Saturday morning. He was taken from this church to Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. riding to see Jay at Holy Sepulchre Cemetery in Southfield, Michigan. This is a beautiful, beautiful cemetery. I love this place. Stop here and get my bearings, get my map. Well, I'm sure there's a story there. Still looking. So I'm here at Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. This is a message I got this years ago. Lot 281, grave 12, section 24. So we're in section 24. This is always a treat, trying to figure out how the hell these are set up. He was a veteran, so I was sort of surprised he didn't have a military tombstone. Section 24, 281. Let's see. Well, it's a little bit easier to find than I anticipated, and someone did visit him for the 4th of July. Somebody fucking glued an ankh to it. Jesus. You know, glued it. Assholes. Jay, look what they did to your shop. They brought it back. There's your Porsche. There's you in front of your shop, and look at that. They put it back. How cool is that? So you were not forgot. Guy by the name of Emil Hirsch portrayed you. I went up to your old house on Easton Drive and shot up there for quite a while, and a couple days anyway. And when Quentin said, "Hey Scott, meet Jay Sebring," I knew it wasn't you, but it was pretty darn close, and I got pretty choked up. So rest in peace. You did some great work. You left a mark, and you died sticking up for a woman who was pregnant. So rest in peace. I want to reassure you that I put all that stuff back on Jay's grave, and I took my things when I left. So those tributes, aside from the ones that are stuck to his tombstone earlier, his marker is gone. I tried to leave it looking better than I found it. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it very much. Jay's own nephew actually is releasing a documentary later this year called Cutting to the Truth. I can't wait to see that. I want to thank specifically Holly Klein, Lexi Gaines, Chris Harris, Joni Gruhara, Joel Wire, Mary Beth Friel, James Harrington, Gail Landrum, David Markland, Brandon Vestal, CC, Kristen Marino, Harry Martin, thank you Harry, Robert Groves, Claire Lawton, Angela Temke, John Tagnacci, Kim Halper, and Jeff Zizek. Thank you guys for being Patreons, for sponsoring the page. The sponsor link is below. There's also a place where you can subscribe to the videos, and subscribing is a very important thing when it comes to YouTube. So if you want to subscribe, please hit that button, and there's a little bell that you can hit too to be reminded when videos are being uploaded. So thank you so much for your time and for your attention, and rest in peace, Jay Sebring.
You heard me.